What was Miriam's punishment for speaking against Moses? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Numbers on Walking Through the Bible.
His word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, turn to Numbers chapter 12. We're going to be reading from verses 10 to 16. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Numbers chapter 12, beginning at verse 10. And when the cloud departed from above the tabernacle, suddenly Miriam became leprous, as white as snow. Then Aaron turned towards Miriam, and there she was, a leper. So Aaron said to Moses, O my Lord, please do not lay this sin on us, in which we have done foolishly, and in which we have sinned. Please do not let her be as one dead, whose flesh is half consumed when he comes out of his mother's womb. So Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, Please heal her, O God, I pray. Then the Lord said to Moses, If her father had but spit in her face, would she not have been shamed 7 days? Let her be shut out of the camp 7 days, and afterward she may be received again. So Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days, and the people did not journey till Miriam was brought in again. And afterwards the people moved from Hazeroth and camped in the wilderness of Paran. In our last lesson, we saw Miriam and Aaron complain to Moses. What was their complaint? That the Lord had spoken to them too, and yet Moses was getting all of the attention and was seen as the leader. Moses himself was a humble man and didn't seek glory in this, though that didn't stop Miriam and Aaron from complaining against him. God, though, was going to have nothing of their jealousy and dissension. He called on all three of them to the tabernacle, but spoke directly to Miriam and Aaron. God told them that the normal process of him speaking to the prophets was through visions and dreams. It was not through direct revelation. However, with Moses, it was different. They spoke face to face and had back and forth conversations. One of these conversations was for God to spare Israel after the golden calf incident. We're going to see another of these conversations later on in this lesson. God's point? Moses was different to them, and they needed to stop complaining. They had no need to be jealous, for Moses wasn't taking on authority not given to him by God. In having to say this, the Lord was angry. How angry? After departing from the cloud, Miriam immediately became leprous. In our study of Leviticus, we talked extensively about leprosy being a contagious skin condition that took many forms. However, in normal circumstances, it came on gradually and sometimes could be cured on its own. However, until such time that it did, the leper was to be cast outside the camp and was to yell, Unclean, unclean, to any who came near. They were also forbidden to enter the court of the tabernacle to offer sacrifices. They were thus religiously and physically cut off from the camp of Israel. Now, Israel saw leprosy as divine punishment from God, although we know that it is not always the case. But it is here. Think about it. A prophetess of God now having to be cast out of the camp until such time that she was cleansed of her leprosy. The problem? There was no guarantee that she would ever be cleansed, for this was a direct punishment from God. Miriam's leprosy was total, and it was immediate. When Aaron saw it, he pleaded with Moses to entreat God to not lay this sin on them, for they now knew that they had acted foolishly and sinned. What Aaron was asking for was the physical consequences for this sin to be removed, for now they knew that they had sinned and repented. He was pleading that Miriam be healed and not become as a stillborn child whose flesh would decay. Moses heeded his brother's plea and cried out that God heal her. And the Lord heard Moses, but he did not immediately heal Miriam. Why? Because she had in essence spit in God's face for his treatment of Moses. Miriam was chastising God for not raising her up as he had raised Moses up. Therefore, she deserved to be punished. Her punishment was that she would live as a leper for 7 days. She would be cast out of the camp for this period, and only after that would she be received again. I'm assuming that after this period of 7 days, she would have had to go through the purification process laid out in Leviticus 14, which would have taken more time. And so that is what occurred. Israel did not journey again until Miriam was brought back into the camp, but after she did so, they journeyed from Hazeroth and camped in the wilderness of Paran, meaning further on in the wilderness than they already were. Now you might ask, why was Miriam the only one punished? Why wasn't Aaron punished? It probably had to do with who was more culpable in this dissension. Notice in verse 1 that Miriam was mentioned first. The likely reason for this is that Miriam was the one with the real complaint, but she convinced her brother to go along because after all, Aaron was high priest. Shouldn't he have the same authority as Moses along with her? It was the same thing that happened in the incident with the golden calf. Aaron wasn't the one who came up with the idea to build the idol, but he was convinced to do so by the people. This seemed to be a character flaw in Aaron, that he was easily manipulated into joining in the sins of others. Aaron was punished for his sin, though his punishment was not physical, but mental and emotional, for he was close to his sister and didn't want to see her harmed. Let's learn from this story that God has a place for all Christians in the kingdom, and that we shouldn't be jealous of one another for whatever role they have. With that, our time is up for today. Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Numbers 13, verses 1 to 20, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.